Okay, so today the class is about the trigeminal nerve. I hope you've gone through the PPT which I have given yesterday. So trigeminal nerve is the fifth cranial nerve. So trigeminal nerve, so what does that mean? So this trigeminal is three divisions. So if you remember, trigeminal nerve is having three divisions, that is called an ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular. Okay, so actually that is from a Latin word which means twins. So geminal, if you remember the zodiac sign, so twins is the Gemini. So trigeminal, that's the reason I've given that name. It's also called as a trifacial nerve. So that's about the name part of this trigeminal nerve. And the next, when you see this image here beside, so here you can see there are quite a number of nerves here. And if you can make out the head part and then the face here. So this tells you that the major part of your face and the head is all innervated by the trigeminal nerve, okay? And also especially the meninges. So the brain and spinal cord are covered by meninges, and the trigeminal is also going to innervate the cranial meninges, okay? So that's here. And you can see how many nerves are there. So this is going to innervate the skin over your face. Then whatever mucous membranes you've got the conjunctiva, then there is cornea, then you've got your nasal cavity, then there are paranasal air sinuses, then a part of the oral cavity, then you've got lips, the teeth, then there is the tongue. So all this is innervated by the trigeminal nerve, including the meninges. So almost all the three divisions may give a branch to the meninges, which are called as the meningeal branches. So that's about the introduction part of the trigeminal. So let's get into it. So this is the largest cranial nerve. So of the 12 cranial nerves, when you look at the thickness, the trigeminal nerve is the largest. And this is like the facial glossopharyngeal vagus. This is also a mixed nerve, having both sensory components as well as the motor components. And the sensory component is more compared to that of the motor component. So if you again just go back to the branchial arches development, the first branchial arch is innervated by the mandibular division of trigeminal. So that branchiomotor fibers are part of this large cranial nerve. And rest all is this extensive or broad distribution of face. So the territories, so that is all by the trigeminal nerve. So it is both sensory and motor. So here sensory to the skin of the face, mucosa, and then except the base of tongue and pharynx, if you remember, that is the glossopharyngeal that is going in innervating. So these are the muscles of mastication and all that. So here coming to the development, so these two you have to remember. So here you're seeing the pharyngeal arches, and here this is the trigeminal nerve. This is the ophthalmic division, maxillary, this is the mandibular division, innervating the first pharyngeal arch. So it is branchiomotor to all the muscles which arise from that particular arch. Then coming to the development of face. The development of face, it is dependent upon 5 facial processes. So one is the frontonasal process, which is represented by the pink one here. Then you have maxillary processes, then you've got mandibular. So all these 5 come together around your stomodium and they form your face. Okay, so each of this is drawing one particular branch of the trigeminal. So this mandibular arch contributes to this, and a little bit here, and this is bringing up maxillary branch, this frontonasal. So exactly half if you do it. So on one side, on ipsilateral supply to your face is by the trigeminal 3 divisions. So that's what is shown here. So all the sensations which it picks up are the general somatic afferents, and here this motor is the branchiomotor fibers. So again here now. So you can see these are the 3 processes, and when you look at this diagram, this is like actually a bit scaring you looking at so many branches. So all these which are shown here, so these are all the cutaneous innervation of the face. So you can see that these are the violet color, blue, pink. These represent the territories of the 3 divisions. Okay, and you can see that these are densely innervated. So many nerves are going innervating. Like if you see the upper limb, it's like medial cutaneous of arm, lateral cutaneous of forearm. Like that, you've got large areas. But here you can see that particular area is densely innervated. Quite a number of nerves are picking up sensation from that particular region here. You can see this all part. See how many nerves are there. So almost 11 cutaneous nerves are going to innervate this one half of this face here. And all these 11 cutaneous are branches of the trigeminal. Then when you look at this, see, this is like this, the dermatome level. So these are the dermatomes, wherever the sensory innervation is there. So this is horizontal. But when you look at the adult face, you can see the lines are curved up. Okay, so from this is the lateral canthus of the eye, and this is the vertex part. Okay, the highest point. And then here, from here, you can see the angle of the mouth, and you can see it's going up here, like this. So why this way? This is because with the development of your brain and the skull, the facial skin was pulled up, okay, causing this dermatomal demarcation, which is horizontal here, to curve up like this. Okay, so that's what is shown here. So this violet is representing the ophthalmic. So I'll just tell the names, and these, don't get scared by looking at so many nerves. So just try to understand the basic concept, and the names itself tell you where they are located and which region they distribute. So this is particularly, trigemin is called as a dentist nerve. So especially to the maxillofacial surgeons and ENT people, then the ophthalmic, and so they'll operate in this particular small zone, which is a very complicated area. So even the teeth extraction or artificial dentation, whatever they're just planning, any dental procedures. So particularly they need to know the innervation of this face. Okay, so they give local anesthetic blocks. So directly, you can see this is a mental nerve. If you remember the mandible, so this is where you have your mental nerves. So if they want to do procedure here on my face, they will just palpate. There's a surface marking. So they locate the mental foramen, and then they will just insert the needle, and they will send the anesthetic solution to block that particular nerve. So whatever branches are coming from this nerve, so this entire area will be anesthetized. So they can perform any kind of surgery or some procedure there. Because the teeth, the mucosa, the gums is all innervated by the trigeminal nerve. Okay, so this is the infraorbital. So this is your region, infraorbital. So here they'll just palpate and they'll identify the mark, and then they will be sending a needle and the anesthetic solution. So this ophthalmic region, so if you remember the orbit, so here what you'll have, if you see the skull osteoid, you'll have the orbits here. So orbit here, so here you'll be having a supraorbital notch, which is not shown here. So here you'll be having a supraorbital notch or a foramen. Okay, if the orbit rim there, you may have a notch, or if this foramen is much above, it is a foramen. So this nerve is called a supraorbital nerve. So this, you can see it's going much up. So scalp theory class, you must have heard of the innervation of the scalp. So supraorbital. Then a little bit on your orbit, you can have a small trochlea, and there it will be going up. So this is supratrochlear nerve. And then below the trochlea one goes, this is infratrochlear nerve. And then this is your nose, so the central part here. So that's one branch, external nasal branch. And another branch which you can see, there's a branch of ophthalmic called as lacrimal. So that innervates your lacrimal gland, and also to this lateral part of this conjunctiva of the eye and this lateral part. Okay, so this region, so these are the 5 branches, cutaneous branches innervating this particular region. So what all are here? So, and the branches of ophthalmic division, here you have the frontal air sinuses much behind. So this part you have the ethmoidal sinuses. So all of them are innervated by branches of ophthalmic. In this diagram, only cutaneous distribution is same. Okay. Then coming to the maxillary part. So this is all maxillary part. So the important nerves which are coming out to supply the skin of the face here is, this is infraorbital. Then this is one particular branch comes. So you have this part, this is your zygomatic bone. So one nerve comes there and divides into 2. So one goes much above. So this is your temple region, and this is your facial region. So one branch, it splits. So zygomatico-temporal. So this region it will supply to your temple part here. Okay, this region. Then the other one over here onto your cheek. So that is the zygomatico-facial. So one is dividing into 2. So what are the 3 branches of maxillary? Here you can say infraorbital, then zygomatico-facial, and this is zygomatico-temporal. Okay. So you don't need to by heart all this. The basic understanding is important to understand this trigeminal nerve, because it's got a lot of practical importance. And then here you can see this infraorbital. You can see so many branches it gives. So here what you have, this is your lower eyelid. Okay. And then here you've got, this is your upper lip. This is the nose. So here 3 branches come. So branches which go towards your eyelid, that will be the palpebral branches. So they go up palpebral branches, towards nose is nasal branches, towards the upper lip it is superior labial branches. Okay, so these are all the branches here. And see, slowly this entire area innervated by these three cutaneous branches of trigeminal. Then coming to the mandibular part. Again here, this is auricle. You can see this is temporal region, so auricular temporal branch. Okay, and this part here, your cheek here, this is the buccal branch. And then here, this is the mental. So I told you this mental foramen on your mandible, that's the mental nerve. So these are the three parts. So here all the dermatomes are shown. So that's about the cutaneous distribution of the trigeminal. So this part same from the lateral canthus up to vertex, then from the angle of the mouth goes up. And between these two areas, this is the maxillary part. And there's a pathological condition, a disease that is called herpes zoster. So previously I have mentioned this many times. So the dorsal root ganglia. So the root, these ganglia, the sensory ganglia, that is where the chickenpox virus, that is varicella zoster, hides. So at a later age, when there is a decreased immunity, either because of elderly age or because of some malnutrition or some disease. So that's when this particular virus gets reactivated. And when it gets reactivated, so in the ganglion, what do you have? You have the neuron cell bodies. So the central peripheral processes will be going towards the skin. So they'll be infecting that particular dermatome region. And this is represented by, this is much better here. A rash on which you get tiny vesicular eruptions. So this herpes zoster exactly follows the dermatomal pattern. So it's not just the skin over your trunk, but also the face is also affected. So here on the face, you've got three dermatomal regions, that is ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular. So you can see varicella zoster affecting the ophthalmic part. Then here, so this is all the ophthalmic part, and you can see the vesicular eruption. So these are restricted to the ophthalmic division. Then here you can see this is all the maxillary part. And then here, this is all the mandibular part. So this one herpes zoster. Okay, so that's about the cutaneous innervation. So remember, also it is innervating your teeth. Okay, so alveolar or dental nerves are also the branches of trigeminal. And also the gums and also the sinuses, the conjunctiva, cornea, all are innervated by your trigeminal. What we previously talked of was only the cutaneous distribution. Then coming to nuclei. So what nuclei do you expect of the trigeminal? So this trigeminal is having, we've talked about cutaneous as well as the motor. So I didn't put the picture of all your mastication muscles and all. I hope you know them. So there should be a motor nucleus, which takes up the upper motor neuron from cerebral cortex and gives the lower motor neurons, and that should be the branchiomotor nucleus. Okay, so that's one. That's the second column of the three motor columns. You've got somatomotor, branchiomotor, and visible motor. So 5, 7, 9, 10, 11C, which is nucleus ambiguous below, and above is the branchiomotor nucleus of trigeminal. Then coming to the sensory nuclei. So this sensory nuclei, it's like in three parts. So the trigeminal nerve, it's having three divisions. It's got two roots, that is a motor root and a sensory root. It's got three divisions, ophthalmic, maxillary, mandibular, and it's got 4 nuclei, 3 sensory and 1 motor, and it's the 5th cranial nerve, if you can remember it this way. Okay? So 2, 3, 4, 5, I've told about this. So this nuclei, you can see the trigeminal nucleus, the sensory nucleus is so big, it is extending here. So this is the entire medulla, and this called spinal nucleus. This also extends into your first 2 cervical segments of your spinal cord. Then here you can see at the level of pons, what you find is the main sensory nucleus of trigeminal. And above that, you can see at the level of midbrain, you get the mesencephalic nucleus. So this entire unit is the sensory nucleus of trigeminal, which is divided into 3 parts. When it's divided into 3 parts, that means like this is saying, okay, I'll do a particular function. You pick up one kind of sensation, and you pick up one kind of sensation. So there's like division of labor here. And then medial to it, so always motor nucleus, medial to sensory, if you remember the developing brainstem. So then just medial to it, you'll find at the level of pons, the motor nucleus of trigeminal. So this is here. So the sensory fibers, so this is a motor nucleus. So you can see the motor fibers go out. Okay. Then coming to the sensory. So sensory are pseudo-unipolar neurons, which have a central process and a peripheral process. So obviously they should have one ganglion outside to the CNS where the cell bodies are located. In the spinal nerve, it is a dorsal root ganglion. And in the cranial nerves, if you remember the facial, it was geniculate ganglion. Then glossopharyngeal, you've got superior and inferior ganglia. Vagus, you've got again jugular and Monro's ganglia. So like that, the external enlargements on the nerves. So these represent the ganglia, where you have the pseudo-unipolar cell neuronal bodies. So same way, even trigeminal nerve also is having a ganglion called trigeminal ganglion, also called Gasserian ganglion. And in that you have the cell bodies. So these three have three different functions, and I'll just tell you that. Okay, so first thing is a mesencephalic nucleus. So this is a very peculiar nucleus because normally the pseudo-unipolar cell bodies are present outside the CNS. See, but the mesencephalic nucleus picks up a sensation called proprioceptive. So proprioceptive comes from the muscle, the joint position and all that. So it's deep. So that particular sensation, that neuron has its cell body inside the mesencephalic nucleus. So this is one exception to the general rule of the location of the cell bodies of pseudo-unipolar neurons outside the central nervous system. So here till here, and then the peripheral process goes up. Sorry, central process. So this is here. So proprioceptive. So proprioceptive sensation from what? Mainly the muscles of mastication. So when you're chewing, there's a movement, and that particular proprioceptive sensation is picked up by the mesencephalic nucleus. And also, you've got your extraocular muscles, you've got the muscles of facial expression, you've got your tongue muscles. So they are also having proprioceptive receptors and sensation. So that is again picked up by various nerves. Like if it is your proprioceptive impulses from extraocular muscles, so they are picked up by your oculomotor, trochlear, and abducens. So they will pick up, and you have seen, there are quite a number of branches going on to the face from trigeminal. So when these oculomotor, trochlear, and abducens pick up the proprioceptive sensation from the respective muscles which they innervate, they just immediately take it, it's yours duty, it's not ours. Because we went till that lateral rectus, I just picked up the sensation and I'm communicating it to you. So there are communicating branches from the nerves which are innervating, that is your facial muscles is facial nerve, tongue muscles is hypoglossal, and your ocular nerves with trigeminal. So they just dump the information to the various branches of trigeminal, and finally all that information goes where? To your mesencephalic nucleus. Then coming to the principal sensory nucleus. So if you remember a section of the spinal cord, so we've got important 6 ascending tracts. So you've got your lateral spinothalamic, anterior spinothalamic. So lateral is this tempane and toe from anterior spinothalamic, touch and pressure. And you've got the most advanced sensations tracts, which is your posterior columns. So what are the advanced sensations? So these compared to this little, crude touch, pressure, temperature, pain, these are much primitive compared to the advanced sensations of your stereognosis, vibration, 2-point discrimination. All that goes up from your posterior columns. So this nucleus is somewhat similar to that of your posterior columns. So principal sensory. So this picks up the fine touch, 2-point discrimination, vibration sensations. All that particular information comes up to the principal sensory nucleus. Then the spinal nucleus. So this spinal nucleus, I told you, it's lengthy. And if you see the various sections of medulla, you will find the spinal nucleus of trigeminal with the fibers attached to it. You get a tract of, okay, let me just draw. So previously, Shrivani and Rupali, they've presented the CNS PPTs, and you must have seen that. So wherever there's a section of the medulla, okay, so you have the spinal nucleus like this. And just adjoining to it, you will find a bundle of fibers like this. So representing the spinal tract, this is the tract of the spinal nucleus. So if you see this part, the longitudinal section. This is when you see a cross section of the brainstem. But here, extending from the caudal pons up to the medulla and the spinal cord. See this entire length of spinal nucleus here. Then you get so many fibers here, they'll be going up, they'll be going down. So various points of this nucleus, they'll just go. So here, so they're so closely associated with, so that's what you're seeing here. Okay, spinal, this is a tract, this is the nucleus. In a section, you find it this way. Okay, so this spinal nucleus, all the tracts of your spinothalamic tracts, the tympane and trochlea. Okay. Then motor nucleus, it is a branchiomotor nucleus. So belonging to the second column of the brainstem columns, nuclear columns. And these are the lower motor neurons. So by this, what should you understand? Supposing if there is a lesion here. Using this is so clumsy. Okay. Supposing there's a lesion here. Okay, so what is this trigeminal nerve exiting from your pons carrying? It is carrying motor fibers and sensory fibers to half of your face. So at that time, what may happen is there can be hemianesthesia of the face. So wherever you just perform the clinical examination, the sensation cannot be perceived by the patient. So hemianesthesia of the face, and also importantly, the muscles of mastication are important for your chewing. So muscles of mastication are what? You've got your masseter, the pterygoids, and your temporalis. So these help in the movements of the jaw and help in chewing. So there will be weakness of those muscles on one side, and there will be some difficulty while chewing on this side. So that is the lesion, effect of trigeminal nerve lesion. Hemianesthesia of the same side face, as well as weakness of your muscles of mastication. Then supposing if there's a lesion which is involving after once the 3 divisions come out, then that will restrict 3 divisions come out from here, that is your ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular. So if the ophthalmic part is cut, then the ophthalmic region sensation will be decreased. Then maxillary part. Then mandibular, it is a mandibular part. So it's restricted. Supposing the lesion is at this level, then a particular sensation from your face will be affected, because whatever sensation, proprioception from your entire face, it is all taken up by the mesencephalic. So if the lesion is at mesencephalic, then obviously it cannot perceive the sensation of proprioception. Same thing here, if the lesion is at the level of this principal sensory nucleus, then the fine touch, the 2-point discrimination, vibration will not be perceived. Then if at the level of spinal nucleus, then wherever the crude touch or that temperature, pain, and pressure on the face when you test for the patient, then that will not be perceived. Only that, but the vibration can be perceived. Fine touch, 2-point discrimination may be perceived. So that's the basic, the applied part related to the nuclei. So here you can see the 3 divisions. So this part here, you're getting this nucleus. So this is all the sensory nucleus. Then this is the motor nucleus. So motor nucleus, obviously, the information should come from where? From your cerebral cortex. So higher center, the cerebral cortex gives the information. So just like, see, your muscles of mastication, they're symmetrical in action. Okay. So usually the muscles which are acting together, they're innervated by, bilateral innervation from both those cerebral cortexes. So this and this also innervate. Again, supposing here if you have the nucleus, then the same side like this. So bilateral innervation is there for the motor cortex, motor. Then coming to the sensory part. So here all the sensory branches are going. So this part here, this bundle here is the sensory part. So all the sensations from here. So these will be forming 2 different tracts. One is which is crossing here. So one will be crossing and the other will not cross. So which are crossing is what? This is, you get the ventral trigeminothalamic tract, and usually the uncrossed usually from the dorsal trigeminothalamic tract. So from the brainstem nucleus, the next level should be where? To thalamus. So from trigeminal nucleus to thalamus, it is a trigeminothalamic tract. So which part of your thalamus? It is a ventro-posteromedial. So along with your taste, solitariothalamic tract, trigeminothalamic tract, they all go to your ventral posterior medial nucleus. And then from the particular thalamus, where does it go? It goes up to your sensory cortex. Okay, so that's how it goes. So this is all common part. So finally, what can you say? The functional components are general somatic afferent, because the picking up sensation, then general visceral efferent, that is your branchiomotor. And here you can see, this is the pons, and you can make out. So this is usually at the junction of, this is middle cerebellar peduncle, this is your pons. So at the junction of the main part of the pons and the middle cerebellar peduncle, that's where you find the trigeminal nerve attachment. Okay, so this is the only, if you see the midbrain, it is associated with two cranial nerves. One is the oculomotor, the other is the trochlear. But pons is the only one, only one trigeminal nerve, okay, which is exiting or entering the pons. And you can make out there are two here. So this thin one obviously should be motor, because it is having few muscles which has to innervate. And you can see a large sensory part. So anterior and medial to this one, you've got a motor root. And this large root of the trigeminal is a sensory part, because it's picking up a lot of, so quite a number of neurons, about 1,70,000 something neurons here. This is around some 6,000, some kind of a number of neurons out there. So that's about the brainstem attachment. That's the superficial attachment. Then, so this brainstem, where is it located? If you remember the cranial cavity, it's got three fossae. That is an anterior cranial fossa, middle cranial fossa, and posterior cranial fossa. So in the posterior cranial fossa, that's where you have your brainstem. So the nerve, trigeminal nerve comes out and it crosses the petrous part of temporal bone. So this is the petrous part of temporal bone. The petrous part of temporal bone is where you have your internal ear, the middle ear, all of that part. Okay, so here crossing it, and then there's a small impression. So this is here. You can see it is sitting here, and you can see this is convex anterolaterally located, and you can see there are three divisions coming out: ophthalmic, maxillary, and then mandibular. And you can see there's a green color one here. So this is an important term you should remember. The dura is totally covering the trigeminal ganglion. So this is forming a Meckel's cave. Okay, so dura is having what? It's got the arachnoid and pia mater. So here you've got the CSF. So entire trigeminal ganglion is bathed in CSF. So that's much here. So location, all you can just study this if you see the relations. Not that important. Relations part. If you just hold the bone and the cavernous sinus, if you just prickle it, and the dural folds, dural venous sinuses, in that chapter you can just study this particular relations of the trigeminal ganglion. So once these three fibers are going out, so that is the three divisions, sorry, not fibers, three divisions, ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular. So then the nerves have to leave the cranial cavity. So when they leave the cranial cavity, they have to go through fissures or the foramina. So out of these three divisions, that is ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular, you can see these two. So this is ophthalmic division and this is the maxillary. So what is this part here? This is the cavernous sinus. So in the lateral wall of cavernous sinus, we've got the oculomotor, you've got trochlear, the ophthalmic division, and then this is the maxillary. So ophthalmic goes up to the superior orbital fissure. Superior orbital fissure leads to what? It will go into your orbit. Then maxillary goes through foramen rotundum. So we used to have one pen called Rotomax. Okay, I mean we used to get that ad on TV. So I remember it that way, Rotomax. So rotundum is maxillary nerve. Okay. So the foramen rotundum. So you can say so this, and these cranial nerves, these two divisions are related to cavernous sinus. So in case of cavernous sinus thrombosis, okay, or any other cause before there's a thrombus of this, then all these nerves will be affected. So multiple cranial neuropathies. Okay, so that's. So these are the three divisions. So I told you ophthalmic goes through superior orbital fissure to orbit, maxillary foramen rotundum, and you've got one fossa behind you. This is your maxillary bone. Okay, when you look from the side in the skull, behind the maxilla, you find a fossa that is called a pterygopalatine fossa. So this actually opens rotundum. If you send a what you call a probe through the foramen rotundum and look into the cranial cavity, you cannot see it coming out of the base. Rather, it goes towards pterygopalatine fossa. So in the examination, they'll be asking you to show the rotundum where it is going to go. So after you come back, anyways, practical will be there. You will get an idea of this. So don't get worried about it now. So just remember, foramen rotundum is taking you to pterygopalatine fossa, where the pterygopalatine ganglion and all are present. Then mandibular nerve, it leaves through foramen ovale. So I think previously mentioned this also, ovale O male. So through ovale, it is the mandibular division, then accessory meningeal artery, then you've got lesser petrosal nerve and emissary vein. So this is again which you should remember even for your PG entrance. So this is one important thing that you should know for your when you're preparing for PG entrance. Okay, so the same three dividing. So initially, when you have seen the previous one, brainstem, you can say this is anteromedial, the motor root, and much later you have the sensory root. But now when you are seeing the motor fibers, which are very few fibers, they are running here below the sensory root and going with the mandibular. So the ophthalmic, maxillary are purely sensory divisions, whereas mandibular is having the motor fibers, the trigeminal. So mandibular is a mixed division, whereas the maxillary and ophthalmic are purely sensory. And these are the fissures through which they are leaving the cranial cavity. So ophthalmic division, I'll just quickly scroll here. So this is the supraorbital foramen. This is the supratrochlear. There will be a trochlea here. So above that, it's going with supratrochlear, and this is infratrochlear. So this is the area of distribution, and you can see the affected part. So the ophthalmic division of the three, this is the smallest. And your entire part of the face, previous picture, if you can just recollect. So this forehead part, then this part of the nose, then your conjunctiva cornea, and this lateral part, upper eyelid, then you've got your paranasal air sinuses, and then here you've got your ethmoidal sinuses. So all that part is related with the ophthalmic division. So this was important because just like the previous glossopharyngeal nerve class when I have told, sometimes the some carcinoma or some tumor which is in your tonsillar region or in your pharynx may cause earache. That's called referrotology because the same nerve is innervating so many regions. So pathology in one region may give you an indication as a pain in some other region. That is referrotology. Same thing when you've got this particular frontal sinusitis. You complain of a severe headache in the frontal part. That's because your ophthalmic division is innervating even your frontal sinuses as well as your forehead. So I mean that particular region, that basic concept you should know. And this is dividing into three branches. This you should remember: lacrimal, nasociliary, and frontal. And the three will enter into the orbit. See, this is the posterior cranial fossa, and here is where your brainstem lies. Press here, and then foramen magnum, medulla, and then that becomes a spinal cord. So this is your petrous part of temporal bone, internal acoustic meatus. So this goes over it. And then this is a middle cranial fossa, and you can see superior orbital fissure. So it goes through it. This is your superior orbital fissure. This part here. I'm searching for this one. Okay, so these three branches, like they enter into the orbit. You can see the three divisions here. So you can just go through the diagram, you will just get it. So the ophthalmic division, the three branches have entered. So first here, superior orbital fissure. Then you can see the first one is frontal. And then here, this part is a lacrimal. And then you can see one more branch here. This is a nasociliary. So these three are the divisions that they're going. And orbit, you have, okay. And you can see here, the frontal will be going this way. And this divides into two branches, supraorbital and your supratrochlear. Yeah, so this is something which I've drawn. I think it will be easy for me to teach you here. So the three divisions of ophthalmic, this is going through this related above with the third and fourth, and below you will have one more, that is the maxillary maxillary division. So again, you can see it's dividing before it is going into the superior orbital fissure. It's dividing into 3 branches. That is a lacrimal, this is a frontal, and this is a nasociliary. So this lacrimal, it will be going towards the lacrimal gland, and also it just comes out, and this particular, so lacrimal gland is very lateral part here. So it innervates and just comes out to supply this particular corner of your eye. Okay. And then coming to the frontal, this will be going in the superior part of orbit, and then when it comes up to this part, it divides into 2, a supraorbital and a supratrochlear, much medially. Then you can see the nasociliary branch. So this one, this will also give, in the orbit you've got a ganglion, ciliary ganglion. So all the ganglia related to the trigeminal. So in the head and neck, you've got parasympathetic ganglia like ciliary ganglion. Then you've got pterygopalatine, you've got submandibular, otic. So these 3 I talked in the previous oculomotor nerve class, facial, and the glossopharyngeal. So, but these are all related to the trigeminal nerve also. So that I'll be taking tomorrow. So for now, just see the nasociliary is also communicating with the ciliary ganglion. Then it gives some long ciliary nerves to the eye. Then it is giving posterior ethmoidal. So ethmoidal air sinuses are there, and anterior ethmoidal. Then from the orbit, it will go into your anterior cranial fossa. It's giving a meningeal branch. Actually, in the beginning also, it gives one more meningeal branch here. So this is reaching up to the anterior cranial fossa. Again comes down. So nasociliary. So both here as well as towards the nasal sinuses. Then it enters into the nasal cavity here. Then it is supplying inside, that is internal nasal, and then comes out, and that is your external nasal. And the continuation of this is your infratrochlear. So 3 nerves of ophthalmic, that one is a lacrimal, mainly goes to your lacrimal gland and this corner of your eye. Then frontal comes up to supply to the supraorbital, supratrochlear. And the important nerve here is your nasociliary. So this is related, we've got a guest here in your orbit. You've got a small, cute ciliary ganglion. So it says hi to it, nasociliary. So ciliary ganglion it is going. Then it gives long ciliary nerves. Then you've got an eyeball. So then it says, okay, hi to the eye. Then it's like just here on medial to your orbit is where you have your ethmoidal air sinuses. It's fine, I'll also innervate you. I'll pick up your sensations. So posterior ethmoid, then anterior ethmoid, then there'll be tiny foramina which will lead up to your anterior cranial fossa. So they just go up. So that part I will not explain now. It's difficult for me to teach when you don't know the skull. So it just going up, then again comes down into your nasal cavity, then internal nasal, then further comes out and supplies to your external nasal part. Okay, and this part your infratrochlear. So these are all the innervations. So the nasal mucosa is also innervated by the ophthalmic division. So this is one thing important is. So previously I told about the nuclei of trigeminal. So the sensory, they'll be going up to your sensory cortex. And one more important thing is the sensory, the trigeminal nuclei also communicates with another system, that is the reticular system. So the reticular nuclei, one important aspect of reticular nuclei is reticular activating system. So it's a part of your reticular system. So this is important for your arousal, the wakefulness. So if you have read that, in your school library, the books, I used to read this Nancy Drew a lot. So always the nanny always faints. Any news is told, it's like they just faint and they just run and they bring some ammonium salts and they just ask them to smell it. Okay, they just put it near the nose and that strong odor will again bring the nanny back to the senses. So that is because the trigeminal nerve will communicate with the reticular activating system. So here when there's the strong smell is actually not stimulating your olfactory nerve. Rather it is this nasal branches, okay, of the trigeminal that are getting stimulated and they are like knocking the door of reticular activating system. Okay, and just wake up and then it gives information to your cerebral cortex and then you're awake. That's how your consciousness is aroused by this strong ammonium smells. So that's the story about ophthalmic. So this all you can just go through because superior optic fissure, the tendinous ring, how they're related. You can see lacrimal is out, frontal is out, but nasociliary is within the annulus tendinous. So this is all you can just go through. So supratrochlear, you can see how the nerves are coming. So the dense innervation on the face. So this is supraorbital, supratrochlear, infratrochlear. What you can't see is internal nasal, and what you can see here is your external nasal. So all this part, just go through it. And this one, nasociliary, see, it's giving short ciliary nerves towards your ciliary ganglion, then long ciliary nerves, then the posterior ethmoidal to your ethmoid and your sphenoidal sinuses, then infratrochlear and anterior ethmoidal. So this again becomes your external nasal. So just trace that, practice the diagram which I have drawn in this. Then coming to the second division, that is your maxillary division. So especially the herpes zoster usually involves your maxillary division, mandibular division regions. So again, this is also pure sensory. So actually I'm very much scared when I look at the diagrams of trigeminal. It's like too many. But if you understand the basic concept, it will be easy for you. So again here, the same maxillary division, herpes zoster. Because first let me tell you the course of the maxillary nerve. So this trigeminal ganglion, so where is this located? Middle cranial fossa, okay, on the petrous part of temporal bone. Then here, where is this going? This is the cavernous sinus. So on the lateral wall, lowermost part. Then it has to leave the middle cranial fossa. So it has to come towards the cranial foramen. That is your foramen rotundum. So what I told you, rotomax, it's a pen. Roto is rotundum, max is maxillary nerve. Then I told you the rotundum, when you pass a probe, it will not come to your base of your skull. Rather, you cannot see if you put a probe and turn the skull back to look at the base. But if you put a probe in the cranial cavity through foramen ovale and you look back, you will find the foramen ovale. I mean, your probe comes out. But when you put the probe in the foramen rotundum, it does not come out because this is going where? Here, to the pterygopalatine fossa. Okay? Then the pterygopalatine fossa will lead you to inferior orbital fissure. So inferior orbital fissure, where does this take you to? The orbit. So this is a communication. See, and then this is all orbit. This is the floor of orbit where you can see the exposed nerve. Then you cannot see because it's passing through a canal, infraorbital canal. And this is the foramen. When you look at your face, I told you there will be a foramen here, infraorbital foramen, from which the nerve comes out. So starting from the middle cranial fossa, from the trigeminal ganglion, it's just going through the lateral wall of cavernous sinus, then peeps into the foramen rotundum, and then this leads into your pterygopalatine fossa. Through it, enters into your orbit through inferior orbital fissure. Then it traverses in the floor of orbit for some time, and then goes again, hides into a tunnel, infraorbital canal, and then exposes out here, the infraorbital foramen. So this is that long, bony points here. So here again, before it leaves the skull, obviously meninges are there in your cranial cavity. So it will give a branch here. See, foramen rotundum is coming down. Again, here you have a ganglion called pterygopalatine ganglion. So just like your ophthalmic division is giving some branches to ciliary ganglion orbit. So this is also saying, okay, fine, I'll just give you some branches here, pterygopalatine ganglion. Then you can see, this is your maxilla. So this pterygopalatine fossa is where? Behind your maxilla. And your maxilla is having the teeth. So this margin, okay, this is your upper alveolar region and this is your lower alveolar region. So you can say this is superior alveolar, one half. Maxillar, there are two. So this part where your teeth are there, so this is your superior alveolar margin. And this mandible, this part is your inferior alveolar margin. So you've got all the teeth. So I hope you know how many teeth an adult should have. Okay, unless it's broken by someone. Okay. So there are, one branch can't just, go to all the teeth. Rather in divisions, it will be passing. So when it's here, which is the closest one to your posterior, these molars here. So there's one branch, we tell it is a posterior branch. Then as it is coming down here, it gives middle, then anterior. So these are all the names. They're just doing the same function. So you can see, I've named, so many fibers are actually scaring me too. But the basic funda here is, this is your superior alveolar margin where you've got all the teeth and you've got three different sets of nerves. It's the three different, posterior, middle, anterior, and hence their names. So posterior come here within the pterygopalatine fossa, and later when it's going through the floor of orbit and the canal, then it's giving these two branches. So forget about it. Then if you remember, I told you this is a zygomatic bone and two nerves cutaneous come out. So that also here, you can see this is one branch. And it's dividing into zygomatico-temporal and zygomatico-facial. To this particular region here, zygomatico-temporal, zygomatico-facial here. That's all. Then this is all the course here. And when it comes out, which you can see on the face. So I told you if you want to perform any surgery here, you'll give a block. Okay. So in some trauma conditions or some other corrections you want to do on the face. So here one branch is going towards orbit, this palpebral branch. Then towards your nose is the nasal branch. So here what you'll have, you've got the lip. So superior labial branch. That's it. So the second division is maxillary. It's going through the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus. Then when it's just leaving cranial cavity, it gives meningeal branch, because I told you all three divisions, they also contribute a branch to the meningeal. To foramen rotundum, pterygopalatine fossa, inferior orbital fissure, infraorbital canal, infraorbital foramen. So this is again, you can just go through it. See, foramen rotundum. And this is the maxilla. So behind that, you've got your pterygopalatine fossa. So that's why when maxillary sinuses are innervated by these nerves. Okay. So just go through the innervation of PNS. So that's all the course. See, this is inferior orbital fissure here. Why is this not erasing? Okay. Because you can see a groove here. After that, you can't make out the groove because that's a tunnel there, and you can see the exit point here. So this is what I was talking about, the Greek and Latin, which you felt previously. So behind is inferior pterygopalatine fossa, inferior orbital fissure. This is the floor of orbit where you can see the nerve. After that, you can't see because it's coming down onto your this part here, the maxilla. Infraorbital foramen. So during its course, it's giving branches to your sinuses as well as to your alveolar margin. So same here. See, they want to perform some surgery. If this nerve is blocked here, then you can see this entire area is anesthetized. This is the infraorbital branch. So these are all the branches which I have previously talked of. So what, where? And here one particular, tomorrow I think I'll just talk about this. Then coming to the third division. The third division is the largest, which is the mandibular. Okay, so mandibular is what? It's both sensory as well as the motor. It's got this few motor fibers. So this is the largest. It is mixed and more of sensory, and the whatever motor is there, that comes to this. Now a first branchial arch. So to the muscles of mastication, then tensor villi palatini, tensor tympani, then you've got your mylohyoid, anterior belly of digastrium. So motor root from motor nucleus, sensory root, Gaussian ganglion. So the other name for trigeminal ganglion is Gaussian ganglion. So this region here. Okay, and then here, again cranial cavity I'm showing you. Okay, so you can see this is the foramen ovale, and just behind it foramen spinosum. These two you should be able to identify. See this oval appearing foramen, and just behind it is a small spinosum. Again, the base of skull, when you look, you can make out these two. Okay, foramen ovale. So I told you if you want to put a probe, this, when we ask you to turn the skull towards the base, you can see the probe coming out. Sometimes this side will ask you to identify in the examination, and sometimes they'll ask you to identify it from the cranial cavity side. And then here, what I want you to know is the infratemporal fossa. So this region is your infratemporal fossa, where you've got your pterygoid muscles and all this, masticating muscles. So here you will get your the temporalis muscle, then you've got your masseters, then you've got your pterygoids inside. So this is the region, this is the infratemporal fossa. So this is how it looks, the infratemporal fossa here. And you can see foramen ovale and spinosum. And this region is your infratemporal fossa part here. all this intratemporal fossa region. So those relations again next class about the mandibular division. So out of the three, you can see the ophthalmic and maxillary related to the cavernous sinus. Whereas mandibular will not go up to cavernous sinus, rather it immediately dips because this is the location where you have your cavernous sinus. So they have, if it has to go up to this, it will go, and here rotundum you'll have, so it has to go. But just immediately after the ganglion, below you're having your foramen ovale, so it just dumps, just jumps into the foramen ovale. And it goes into your, the intratemporal fossa. So it's got two divisions, anterior and posterior divisions. So these are all the branches. Yeah. I'll just show you one. This is a mandible here. This is a mental foramen which I was talking. Here you have that. Then in the mandible, the class was over previously. So in the middle aspect, you'll find one mandibular foramen. And then there's a groove, mylohyoid groove here, like this. Okay. Clear? That's what the mandible part which I wanted to show you. So I hope you're able to identify this. So this is the mandible. Okay. So this foramen, this is the trigeminal nerve, and then this is your Gasserian ganglion or trigeminal ganglion, the lowermost division, that is your mandibular division. And after that, what you're having is the motor fibers coming down. So these two, they join as they leave the foramen ovale. So you get one big part. This is your trunk, the trunk of mandibular nerve. So the trunk is having both motor fibers and sensory. You won't find them separate now. So from the trunk, there are two branches. One is a nervus spinosus. So you can see one branch is going here above through foramen spinosum. So previously I told you just foramen ovale behind, you've got a spinosum. So that's going up. Then another branch to nerve to medial pterygoid. And then there's also sub branches here. So here in infratemporal fossa, you have the otic ganglion, which is important for your parotid innervation. Okay. And there are two muscles which will be related to your palate and tympanic cavity. That is what tensor tympani and tensor villi palatini. So for these, they are more deep. So the branches pass directly through it and reach up to the tensor villi palatini and tensor tympani. So that's now the trunk has come out. Then it divides into a smaller anterior division. You can see the anterior division smaller, and you've got the rest of this is all posterior division. So a larger posterior division. So this small anterior division is mostly motor. So we finished the pterygoid, tensor tympani and tensor villi palatini. So what are we left with? We are left with your muscles of mastication excluding the medial pterygoid. So this will give branches here, deep temporal nerves towards your temporalis muscle. Then we are left with lateral pterygoid. So lateral pterygoid, then masseteric branch. Okay, so by this all four muscles of mastication are completed. And also through the otic ganglion, they go deep, tensor villi palatini and tensor tympani. So we covered almost all except two of the first branchial arch. And the only sensory branch of anterior division is buccal nerve. This is again a PG entrance point. Okay, so buccal nerve, if you see buccal branch of facial is motor, buccal branch of trigeminal is sensory. So this particular region, the buccal mucosa and all, is innervated by your buccal nerve. Then coming to the posterior division. Okay, so small anterior division, it's all motor branches except one, that is your buccal branch. Then coming to the, so this is sensory. Then coming to the posterior, see, it's a large posterior trunk. So it is also all are sensory except for one branch, that is the inferior alveolar nerve here. Sorry, the nerve to mylohyoid. So now you can see the lingual. The first branch here, what is it showing? The lingual. So lingual has to go where? To the tongue. If you remember the anterior 2/3 of the tongue, the general sensation is picked up by the lingual branch of your mandibular. So it's picking up there. Then if you remember in facial nerve, I told you chorda tympani. So from anterior 2/3 of the tongue, general sensation by lingual nerve. Taste sensation by what? Chorda tympani branch of facial. So you can see this is also communicating. Then the next one here is auriculotemporal. So auriculotemporal, it's going behind. This will two roots that encircle an artery that is called as the middle meningeal artery. So you can see middle encircling them. So this is also going through your foramen spinosum. So this is again an entrance bit. So what passes through the spinosum? So actually we used to remember the spin M thrice. So this is meningeal branch will be there, the middle meningeal artery. So this is one. So auriculotemporal, you can see it's related to your temporomandibular joint. It's going just medial to it and going up. This is your external acoustic meatus and going up. So as this auriculotemporal is going, it supplies to the temporomandibular joint, and it's and you've got a parotid here related to parotid innervation. Then your auricle, then a part of external acoustic meatus, and this temporal region. So that's about your auriculotemporal. Then you can see one more branch. This is inferior alveolar. So superior alveolar is 3 divisions: posterior, middle, anterior supply. But coming to this one big nerve, that is inferior alveolar. So this inferior alveolar is just coursing. See, you have a mandibular foramen in the mandible. It's going through, it's hiding in the tunnel there, the mandibular canal. So as it goes along this mandible, you've got your molars, the premolars, all that. So all the teeth it's going to supply. So inferior dental nerve or inferior alveolar nerve. Then finally, what is the exit point of this canal? Mental nerve. So always a canal has 2 ends. So one end is your mandibular foramen on the medial side of mandible, and the other is the mental foramen. Okay, and then you've got another through the mandible incisor branch, and incisor branch goes towards the incisors. Then here the motor fibers. So the motor fibers from this mandible, they pass like this. Nerve to mylohyoid. There's a groove which I showed you in the mandibular image. So it comes down like this. And what does it you have? What is a diaphragm or oris? You've got mylohyoid. And here you've got the digastric. So this is your anterior belly of digastric. This is posterior. This is your mastoid. This is your mandible. This is how your digastrics are, anterior and posterior. So anterior belly of digastric and this mylohyoid, these two are innervated by the mandibular division. So the nerve to mylohyoid comes here, supplies to it, and also gives a branch to the anterior belly of digastric. So that's about mandibular nerve, very exhaustive, but if you just draw these diagrams, you will understand. So mandibular nerve, the 3rd division of trigeminal, it is a mixed one carrying both sensory fibers and the motor fibers. So the sensory part is all to your lower part of your face. Okay, so cutaneous branches, whatever is coming out, the mental part will be supplying to this region here. Then you've got your auriculotemporal, which will be supplying to this region. Okay, and so here it's leaving the cranial cavity through foramen ovale, and then when it's coming out as a trunk, it is giving some a meningeal branch back, and 3 important muscles. One is the medial pterygoid. From it again 2 branches go to your deeper muscles, tensor tympani, tensor veli palatini. Then it dividing into 2 branches, anterior division, posterior division. So anterior division is mainly motor except for one sensory branch, that is buccal branch. Then the posterior branch is chiefly sensory except for the nerve to mylohyoid, which carries the motor fibers. So mylohyoid is here, the 2 are here like this, from the diaphragm, and you have got your anterior belly of digastric. So that's about mandibular division. You can see these are all the teeth innervation, how they go. So inferior alveolar nerve to all these nerves here. Then superior alveolar nerves in 3 sets, posterior, middle, and anterior. Again, the branches here. You can see this one. And it's hiding here, the foramen, and just going out, and finally coming out. So this region here of your face. So auriculotemporal branch, then buccal branch, and then your mental nerve. These are all supplying to the cutaneous innervation of the face here. So in the dissection, you can see mental foramen and the nerve fibers coming towards the skin. So the 4 ganglia previously already mentioned this. Then examination, your ophthalmic division, maxillary, mandibular, and corneal reflex. So you know this reflex. And for testing the muscles of mastication, we'll ask him to tightly clench the teeth. Then that's when you can palpate your masseter and temporalis to see how the tone is. That's one. And also the jaw jerk is done. So I told you it's a dentist now, so quite a number of procedures are performed by the dentist here. So that particular teeth region wherever they want to block it. So you have seen quite a number of nerves there. So that's how the nerve blocks are given. Cavernous sinus thrombosis along with the oculomotor trochlear abducens, even ophthalmic and maxillary may be involved. Then herpes zoster, any of the three divisions, but mainly it is maxillary and mandibular. Then trigeminal neuralgia. So this is one of the severest forms of, the pain one can ever experience. So these are how you can see they're injecting. See, they're not going to remove your mandible and inject. This is all covered with soft tissue, but they're just showing you where the needle goes. Okay, if they want to block the inferior alveolar nerve, so they go up to the mandibular foramen and there they will block. So that this entire part, one half of your mandible is anesthetized. Again, here you can see the foramen here on the palate. Now they're innervating that particular. If they want directly, see this, they want this entire area to be anesthetized directly, they'll give to the main branch. But if it's a few branches, they'll just give it much closer to it. That's the different techniques later which you can do. So again, herpes zoster here, the three divisions. And coming to trigeminal neuralgia, it is like they get a sudden stabbing pain. So all of a sudden, like the person is, so this is a rare thing, but the pain is like, so one of this, they describe, it's like you get a severe attack of migraine, at the same time a severe attack of toothache. It's a combination of them, and you just don't know when this is going to arise and how long it's going to stay. So it's like people describe it as an electric bolts, and whatever you do, you can't decrease that pain at that particular moment. So that's trigeminal neuralgia. And simple trigger. See, sometimes when you see some people, you just get irritated a lot. I do get. Okay, so it's like a trigger. You're just cool and pleasant, but the very sight of the person passing by, you just, you just can't control the irritation. So same thing in trigeminal nerve. Normally it is fine, but supposing regularly the person shaves, but on that particular day, even a simple stimulus while shaving the face or washing the face or a simple touch may irritate that particular division a lot and give this kind of stabbing pain. So these are all, you can just go through them to help you understand how horrible this particular trigeminal neuralgia is. So sometimes if they cannot tolerate this with the basic medication, then they go up to the trigeminal ganglion and they inject alcohol into it to kill all the nerves. Okay, I'm telling in a crude way. So to destroy the neurons, which are picking up the sensation. So because hemianesthesia, you can, anesthesia in a particular region, you can go for it rather than tolerate this much of, pain. So they will be destroying the neurons with the trigeminal ganglion. So that's about the trigeminal neuralgia. And we are done with the class for trigeminal nerve. So it's a fifth cranial nerve, the largest. It's a mixed one. It's got three divisions. And please practice the three diagrams which I have drawn to understand it. This you correlate with the sensory innervation of the nose, the paranasal air sinuses, and that's going to help you, right? And please draw the diagrams of